So now that we have our route set up and we're sending a request and we're receiving a return to that request from the server, and we know everything's working, we've reached the right route and everything, now what we want to do is actually do something with that data. So in this video, I'm going to take you through creating a request, a specific request. In this request, we're basically going to handle all of our validation for the data coming through, and we're also going to set up some authorization within the request to basically say who is allowed to store a user in the database using this request and who isn't. So let's start there. So first of all, we'll create the request. Artisan gives us the ability to make that really easily. So PHP artisan make request, and we'll give that request a name, which will be store user request. It's simple, it's clear, easy enough to do. So let's pull that in here, store user. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-I, that's going to bring that in up there. So now we have the store user request set up. And let's go ahead and visit that. So store user request in here. First of all, we try to submit anything right now. Because this is returning false, it's not going to work for us. We either have to return true, or we have to provide it some sort of truthy statement for it to allow it to go. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to verify the person using this request is an administrator. Only administrators are allowed to store users in this application. So we can access the authorization object, auth, and we'll say user, and then basically anything available to us in the user model we can use here. So in this case, we created this method earlier, I do believe, is admin, and if the person is an administrator, then they can continue down the line. Don't forget, I brought in the authorization class there. Now down here, we're gonna do a couple of things. One, we're gonna specify the data that's allowed to come through at this point. In this case, it's going to be a name, and that's going to be required. We also want it to be a minimum of 3 characters for the name. And in this case, I'm going to throw in a little bit of regex, and it's basically going to specify that all it's allowed to have is uppercase or lowercase letters. So no numbers, anything like that. I don't know of anybody who has a number in their name. It seems kind of odd to me. Email comes through as well. Okay. And yes, email is definitely required in here. We can use a piece of validation that is already built in to make sure that it is an email address that's coming through. And we want to make sure that each email that comes through is unique in that particular column in the users table. Here, role is definitely required. And down here, we want to create some rules for the password that comes through. So there's a number of rules that we're going to put in here. So we'll create this as an array. And in here, first of all, it's a required element. It's a required piece of data. It has to be a string. And it has to be a minimum of 10 characters. And now we're going to plug in some regex here. So I could do this in one long string. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to break it down into about 4 different areas, so it's easier for you when you come back to actually understand. I mean, even myself, when I look at a regex string, it's not immediately apparent to me. So we can break it down very simple. Basically, what comes through is password. All these 4 statements have to return true. So first of all, the string that's being passed through as the password has to contain a lowercase letter. Okay? It also has to contain an uppercase letter. So A through Z. Oops. All right. This also has to contain, we also want it to contain a number. A number is important. And so we'll say 0 through 9. And we also want it to contain a special character. So we'll specify those special characters here. And that'll be, we'll say the @ symbol, $, exclamation mark, hashtag, percentage, even be that one, the ampersand, a star, and that satisfies things for me. Okay. So basically it has to check through these, all these pieces of regex have to return true. So basically the string must contain lowercase, uppercase number, and a special character in there. All right, perfect. Now we need to do confirm password. All right. And the only rules we're going to add in here are going to be that it's required and it has to be same as password, or same as the one that we have up here at the top. All right. So let's see what's returned here if our form throws an actual error. So let's go back to our page here. And what we'll do is let's go back to our create user form here. And what we're going to do is we're going to do something if we catch the error. So in here, it'll be .catch. Actually, I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. Okay, let's put console log in here. All right. Console log, and then we want to do something if we catch it. So let's console log our errors response. Errors. And then from there we'll be able to navigate our data and display the data as we see fit. Okay, let's go back here now. We'll refresh. So we can test out a few different errors like, I'll just put 2 items there as the name. This one's not going to throw an error because it is a legitimate email address, and we're taking care of the validation on the front as well, which is also an option, but you always want to make sure that the backend is validated just in case. I'm going to type in password here, and I'll type in pass for this one underneath. And we'll go ahead, we'll try to create this user. Okay, so request failed with a status code of 422. What I should have actually done here is I should have in create user run console.dir to view what that actually looks like. But there's another place we can look at this, and that would be under network. And if we go to users down here, we can see what was returned. So we can see all of the errors that are coming through here. So name must be at least 3 regex blah 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 characters. It gives us all the information on there that we need to work with in here. So what else? Password must match. Basically, we get the errors object returned back to us with properties that are arrays. So what we're going to do in the next video is we're going to sort through all of these errors that come through, push them to an errors array, and then display the errors at the top of our form.